morning. You're on to the Agribusiness Chat with Jinmi Ajayi, and today we have an expert in the leather value chain who is going to be shedding more light and enlightening us about activities across the value chain of leather in Nigeria and also beyond the shores of our land. So, good morning, Mr. Folawiyo. You're welcome to the Agribusiness Chat with Jinmi Ajayi. So, please introduce yourself and tell us about your organization.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Jinmi Ajayi, for this privilege, this opportunity. I do not take it for granted in any way. My name is Abiodun Folawiyo once again. I'm the CEO of ShoeSpeed. At ShoeSpeed, we make quality leather footwears for male, female, and we also make leather accessories, especially the branded ones for individuals and corporate organization. We also have an academy that I've been running for about 15 years where we train people in the art and the business of shoemaking. And in the last 10 years, we've done over 1,500 people in the industry. We've trained over 1,500 people in the industry, just to mention a few.
Wow. I mean, over 1,000, that's impressive. I didn't even know about the scope of your training program. So I never knew. Tell us your story about, especially about how you started. I mean, considering our environment, I'm sure it wasn't easy when you told your parents that you wanted to go into footwear. I mean, now we call it footwear, but then they will be like, mommy shoemaker, that kind of thing. And so, were your parents supportive during those early stages?
Yes, well, it's a quite a funny story. My father was a professor, and my mom was into business. All right, and my father had always wanted me to be a professor like him. He wanted me to lecture in the university. He wanted me to be an academician. I just simply because we had a lot of things in common when he was alive. We wear the same shoe size. We look alike, Then he had beards. Now I also have beards, and all of that. And we just had this connection, and he wanted me to be, a teacher, and end up being a professor like him. So I got my admission into university, and I pulled in for accounting. And first year into my course as an accountant, training to be an accountant, I became bored with everything. I became bored with, accounting for money that is not mine. I became bored with, with all the figure thing. Anytime I'm going for lectures, I just drag myself into the lecture hall, and ironically, I was on first class. Even at that, wow. Yes, I was on first class in my first year. My GPA was quite strong. My father knew about my GPA, then called me into a meeting and reassured me that I'm on that track to becoming a professor eventually. But I could not tell him that I was not feeling, I was really not enjoying what I was doing. And I thought that, okay, what would I rather do? That was not a conversation between me and myself. What would I rather do? Then it occurred to me that I should better go for something that would give me the kind of excitement that would make me feel happy and really excited each time I wake up from bed. So I started to run through my mind, and I found out, and I remembered I'd always had love for shoes from about age 7. And I knew that there's something about it that if I work on, could become something really great in the future, in the near future.
Yeah.
So I decided to do a walk, take a stroll to guidance and counseling department of my school, University of Lagos back then, and I didn't make sense. For my inquiries didn't make sense. Why on earth would a young man studying one of the best courses in University of Lagos, accounting, thinking of changing course to any faculty or department that has something to do with shoemaking? And they looked at me and said, "Do you think you are in a technical college? For God's sake, you are in a full, University of Lagos. And this is not technical college." So I knew they didn't have a solution. So I had no choice than to walk up to a roadside shoemaker. And I signed a deal that, okay, I would report to you every Friday from school, be with you Friday, Saturday, and at times Sunday, to learn, to get to know, the skill. That was really how the whole thing started, way back, in my second year in the university.
Interesting. And then imagine where, look at where it's gotten you today. I mean, look at what you're doing, the impact you're making in the lives of thousands of people. That's impressive. Congratulations on that. So,
Thank you.
to the topic of today, please run us through a detailed breakdown of the leather value chain from livestock production. And by livestock production, I also mean that sourcing and selecting the types of livestock. I was able to say that because I do
You're a farmer.
livestock, right? Yeah, exactly. From livestock production to the breaking of Versace shoes we see today. Today, what animals, birds, or reptiles are best for leather production? So it's a lot of questions packed in
Put
one.
together. Okay, so let me pick it from the perspective of from the livestock. Let me pick it from your space into my space. All right, so usually for every quality animal skin you make use of or you convert into a footwear, it comes from different animals. So we have animals like the cow, we have goat, we have sheep, we have. Hello, are you with me? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so calf, the calf is another type of cow. I'm sure you know that. All right. We also have the sheep, like I said earlier, we have the goat. Okay, those are the predominant animals, livestock that are used for leather. They are used that are involved in being that are usually converted, from the raw state to leather. You have other animals like ostrich, you have crocodile, you have snake. It's a long list. But for the sake of this session, let me just restrict it to cow, sheep, and goat. All right. So the cow, most of the time, the leather you get from them eventually is what people use, and some of those winter, some of those boots, work boots, safety boots that are made from real leather. There are those leather materials that are really thick. Okay. Then you also have sheep skin, you have goat skin. Most goat skin is what they are used for in the inside of shoes. That's what we call shoe lining. For soft material, leather materials like upholsteries of cars, you also use sheep for that. Then you also use sheep and goat for wallet. All right. Then accessories like belt, most of the time, depending on the thickness, you use cow skin, because it's quite rugged. So going back to the process, so an average animal like goat, cow, or sheep, there's a professional way their skin is being extracted. So it's like when you kill the animal, you take off the skin in a professional manner, such that it's not damaged. All right. And the animals, when they rear them, they are being reared carefully. They are not animals you flog with sticks and all of that, because the more marks, you really don't want them to have any blemish on their skin, because it's scratch, because eventually it will show up when it's being converted to real leather. All right. So it's been taken off. and taken through processes of tanning. Then it goes into different chemicals, converted into what we call wet blue. Wet blue, that's a process where the leather passes through some chemicals. Then it comes in a sky blue color. So that's why we call it wet blue. And it's from that stage, you then start to determine, what do I want to come out of this leather? Do I want it to be suede? Do I want it to be patterned leather? Do I want it to be black? Do I want it to be red? Do I want it to be brown? And that's where dyeing, finishing, drying, and all of that comes to play. All right. So it's actually from the animal skin, and those animals are breeded specially. Their nutrients, their care, they ensure they don't get some sort of ailment, before they are being slaughtered. Even if they do, they ensure they are well treated and they recover fully before they get into the slaughterhouse. Why? Because if it's not treated, and if accurate attention is not paid to it, it will reflect in the finished product eventually. So that's it. That's like a quick rundown and summary of that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I like the fact that you were able to give us the thorough analysis, because I tell people agriculture is not only about business or giving animals food or selling the products at the end of the day. There's a lot of science involved in it. There's a lot of science. I remember when I was doing piggery, right? And there are times maybe an animal gets sick and maybe eventually passes out. So by the time you want to try to see maybe like a form of an autopsy, you see how red the skin gets sometimes. Sometimes it's like bluish. So it goes to tell you the sort of ailment that actually did kill the animal and all.
The animal.
So at the end of the day, it's definitely going to show on the leather once it's
exactly.
After getting treated.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so over the years, I grew up hearing Italian leather this, Italian leather that. Even in school, then my shoe is Italian leather, that kind of thing. You understand? Primary, secondary school. So Italian leather, Italian belt, shoes, etc. How good is the Nigerian leather, and what are some of the options to consider while sourcing for quality leather in Nigeria? Because I've heard over time that some of these countries pick their leather materials or leather materials from Nigeria, especially sub-Saharan Africa. So tell us, what's the difference between Italian leather and Nigerian leather?
All right. So yes, let me say this as a foundation. Leather is leather.
Okay.
All right. What makes it Italian? It's the extra effort and technology that gets into the animal skin. So I can come to your farm and buy skin, goat skin, sheep skin, and cow skin from you. Now the same skin can be sent to Kano, and the same raw skin can as well be sent to Italy. At the end of the day, the quality you would get from Italy might, mark my word, might be better than the quality you get from Kano. The quality you get from Kano might also be better than the quality you get from Italy, depending on the expertise that gets into that raw material, depending on the chemicals and the detail and the expectation you want from the leather. For instance, some natural arrangement comes to play here. For instance, our goat skin, the goats that are breeded in Nigeria, that feed on our pasture and all of that, by nature, usually end up becoming the best. Our goat skin, the goats, bring the goats, when you're saying the goat, getting the skin, the goats in its state, the quality is the best.
By goat, do you mean the West African goat or any goat bred in Nigeria?
Any goat
West
bred in
African
Nigeria.
dwarf. Any goat, okay.
Yes, yes. I think that one is from Sokoto or is it Kano or Sokoto? It's from the northern part of Nigeria, especially.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
by nature, from what I gathered, by nature, their skin has great potential to give you one of the best quality of goat skin. Now, you heard what I said. It's a potential. So the potential, harnessing the depth of the potential, would then be subject to the chemicals, availability of the right chemicals, and the expertise to convert it from a good raw goat skin into a quality one. So there are lots of tanneries, couple of tanneries in Kano that actually make leather, for producers in Italy like Prada, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and the top brands. They exist. I've met with some of them. They actually exist. Is of a fact. And the reason why such brands will feel comfortable to buy from us is simply because they are doing some certain things right. There are some certain things that are right. I know of sheep and goat. But by a lot of factors, our cow don't usually give the best type of leather. Some of the places where you get the cow that gives the best type of leather around the world is one of the typical places is Ethiopia, Germany, and some other European countries. Why? Because they have a better what's it called, technology and stuffs around, growing, giving them the best nutrition and all of that to give the best output. But for goat and sheep, we have about the best raw stuff. So in summary, it's really more about the technology. There's even some leather that leaves Nigeria, finished leather that leaves Nigeria, that are being further tanned in Italy. They further take it through some other processes, other finishing processes, so that when you look at that same leather, you would doubt it ever came from Nigeria. Why? Because of some few additions that had been put to it, from here and there.
Perhaps improved technological advancement.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So thank you. You mentioned that there are some tanneries in Kano that supply leather or produce leather for the big brands in Europe or across the world. So are these tanneries owned by Nigerians or by foreigners? Do you know?
Quite a number of them are. Some of them, few of them are owned by Nigerians, but a lot of them are owned by foreigners. Indians, Lebanese, Indians, Lebanese, Chinese, and the rest.
Okay. Yeah. Because I've heard, because like the goat factor you mentioned, just now, because I did some research with some guys, I think 2013 or 2012, I can't remember, but some years back. And then that was when I realized that it's pretty difficult to go into the tannery business in Nigeria. It's more like a cartel. So, could you shed more light? Because I know you've also been making a lot of moves. You've been to different parts of the world trying to set up yours and come up with something like that. So, could you tell us about your experience, the challenges you are still facing with regards to you owning your own tannery?
Yeah, so there are lots of factors that are involved, like every other business. There are environmental factors. Environmental factors, it's a case of when for one reason or the other, you just found out that a particular location, a certain profession or business is common. So you say Silicon Valley, you say like in Lagos, Nigeria, Yaba in Lagos, Nigeria is seen to be the IT hub. All right. In Lagos, Nigeria, Ikeja is seen to be the mobile phone hub and the computers. All right. Then for leather, Kano is the hub. You have
Mm-hmm.
livestock in other parts of the northern Nigeria. Of course, we know we have more livestock in the northern part. You can correct me.
Mm-hmm.
That's your space. You have more like I believe or I feel that we have more
Mm-hmm.
livestock in the northern part,
Yeah.
which is naturally by default. It means that
Mm.
you will get more raw materials from that side.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get what I mean? Raw materials from that side. So looking at it from that perspective, it's one of the reasons why you have it predominantly in Kano.
Mm.
All right. And of course, some of these people have been in the industry for so many years. They understand the industry. And you see, ease of entry into that industry is also very restricted because it's capital intensive.
Okay.
Your operational capital is pretty high.
Okay.
Your capital expenditure, talking about
Mm.
equipment, is pretty high. Those equipment are
Mm.
quite expensive to acquire. A
Mm.
lot of them coming from Europe. You know what it means having to buy,
Mm.
90 or 95% of your equipment from Europe.
Yeah.
And an
Yeah.
average budget, you need to set up a typical tannery that does, full tanning is about a $10 million project.
Mm.
Yeah. And an average of 60% of that is usually set aside for operational expenses.
Mm.
Just to let
That's a
you
lot of
know,
money.
that's a lot of money. And it
Mm-hmm.
comes in also with having to import some chemicals. You can't afford to be out of
Mm-hmm.
some certain chemicals. You probably
Mm.
have to import chemicals you need it for 6 months. I mean, ahead. That's tying down money. And a lot of these
And
chemicals are,
considering what Forex is saying.
yes, and a lot of these chemicals are shipped into the country.
Mm.
So it's a strong one, especially if you're thinking of setting it up in other parts of the country, because already there's a network of tanneries
Mm.
in Kano
Mm.
concentrated in one area in Kano.
Mm.
All right, so they have their own industrial environment. So they are
Yeah.
also so bonded that they have ways they use the word borrow chemicals from each other. So if you want a tannery and a particular chemical is exhausted, you can
Yeah.
come to
You
me,
quickly
borrow
borrow.
part of my own,
Yeah.
which proves
Yeah.
that yours is on the IC.
Mm-hmm.
So when yours
But it
come,
makes
you
sense
can.
that way. That's collaboration.
It's
It makes
collaboration.
sense. Yeah, because
Yeah,
production continues, and then the
ex-
guys they employ, continue to keep their jobs.
exactly. So if you have
Yeah.
a solid structure, so
Mm.
if you have a structure that is that coordinated, getting
Yeah.
into such, you can imagine what it will require. But of course, for
Yeah.
every great thing and every successful thing, I believe that hard work is required, determination and tenacity
Mm.
is
Mm.
is required,
Mm.
and of course, I believe with time we'll be able to work around that.
Wow, thank you very much for this because I've always been of the opinion that it's like a strong cartel. I mean, like a mafia-like formation that you can't
Mm.
just go in and all this kind of thing. But now from this, I now understand better that okay,
Yeah,
it's more about the attention to details. It's capital intensive,
you
and
capture,
then
yes,
continuous expenditure and all.
exactly.
So that means that an average Nigerian, if you have good financial backing or strong collaboration or partnership, you can easily go there, do your research, get your work done, and set up yours. Thank you very
Yeah,
much for that. So, what are the major challenges of the tannery business in Nigeria? I
yeah.
mean, you've
So
already highlighted the fact that you need to import all your products, your inputs, considering Forex. What other challenges are there?
yeah, some of the challenges I found out from my research is the fact that
Mm,
a lot of the chemicals they use are imported.
mm,
Fine, you get the skin locally, but a lot of the
okay.
chemicals are imported. And also, talking about the raw material, which is the skin, there's still a lot of discrepancies among, there are a lot of inconsistency in the quality of the
Mm-hmm.
raw animal skin. You understand? So if you're not very
Yeah.
careful, you might buy substandard And some of those substandard, you might not be able to identify them until they are being converted to real leather.
Wow. So you've already purchased, you've already
You
made use
purchase,
of your chemicals,
yes,
electricity or diesel.
everything. So then you have like 5 grades of leather, A, B, C, D, E. Eventually, you might be struggling to have grade A being the highest grade. You might be struggling to have a grade C.
Wow.
From an entire system. So there are some technicality you need to have. You must have a very, very responsible and trustworthy team to be able to say this stock won't work for us. And most of the time, the price, some of them you buy it at the price of grade A or grade B. So you might buy a raw skin at grade B and your output to be grade D.
Wow.
And the end user, the buyers, they see it, you reflect on it. You see it on the output. And it affects what the buyer, is willing to pay you. I might be offering you, by the virtue of the standard, I might be offering you lower than your cost of production. So that in itself had made a lot of tannery close down in the north. Another thing is that local consumers of the leather are far limited. So you are forced to export a lot of your finished products. The good and the bad of it is that if you do not get a buyer, you might have unnecessary stock for too long.
Yeah.
Do you understand? But of course, when you get a buyer, you are selling in foreign exchange. But with the pandemic sweeping around Europe, a lot of the Europe buyers, which are the biggest buyers in the leather industry, are not really buying because of the pandemic. So a lot of the tanneries right now, they are bleeding. And we don't have high capacity shoe factories, leather accessory factories. Imagine we have a lot of car manufacturing factories in Nigeria. We are getting there. We have Innocent and we have Nord. Innocent, so imagine that Innocent does a lot of interiors in leather. Then they will be, of course, they will be forced to buy leather and all that. You'll be forced to sell locally. So but because of the people that buy locally are these little consumers, they're the ones that make handmade shoes here and there. So a lot of times the capacity of what they produce from the north, we don't get to consume as much. And the people that are willing to buy, they are not even willing to buy a grade A or grade B leather. They want to buy a grade D or grade E or F if possible, to be able to maximize the profit they get from their finished product. If you understand what I mean. So that's one. And of course, like we all know, a lot of the tanneries don't get so much of the government backing. They don't get a lot of government incentives and all. Like unlike Ethiopia, when you go to Ethiopia has a solid government backing for their leather industry, and it's making them become like one of the best in Africa at the moment, if not the best right now.
Wow. It's almost kind of sad though, like when we consider the amount of human resources, opportunities that, wasting away on daily in Nigeria. You just keep wondering how long it's going to take us to get there, right? It's disheartening. Anyways, we just have to keep looking at the brighter side till we start making proper progress. Till we start making proper progress. So you mentioned that you've trained over 1,000 people. What sort of collaborations did you go into to get to those numbers? And then what has been the success rate, like the feedback you get from those you've trained? Are they still in the industry? What sort of progress are they making? Just give us one or two examples.
Okay, yeah, so we've done a lot of collaborations with NGOs, with
Okay.
international bodies like United Nations Information Center,
Okay.
with
Okay.
Microsoft, with the Nigerian German Center,
Okay.
GIZ, with IOM, International Organization for Migration, and just
Okay.
to mention a few. So usually what we've done more is to get organizations like that to get to sponsor people, to get them
Mm.
trained. So we don't just train them on how to just make shoes. We train them on how
Mm-hmm.
to convert the skill of shoemaking into a profitable venture.
Mm.
And like I said, you didn't really get what I said earlier. We've trained over 1,500 in the last 10
Okay.
years. Yes,
Okay.
and I would say comfortably that at least 1/3 of the persons we've trained are doing well in the industry, as I
Okay.
speak. And they are not just making footwears, they are also making profit from it.
Good. Good. And at the end of the day, they are also employing people. So
Yes,
there are
they're
more
also
jobs
employing.
for us, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're also employing people, and some of them are now in our faculty in the ShoeSpeed Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Could you tell us more about the ShoeSpeed Academy?
Yeah, so the
Mm.
ShoeSpeed
Yeah.
Academy is the arm of ShoeSpeed that handles training.
Okay.
That's training in the art and the business of shoemaking. We started
Okay.
about 10, 11 years ago. ShoeSpeed itself started
Okay.
16 years ago officially.
Okay.
So 5 years into business, we found out that one of the things that is lacking in the industry is the right manpower. So you can have
Mm.
the right equipment, right raw materials, but the right skill, if the right skill is
Mm.
not in place to convert those things into good finished product, you might not
Mm.
make something good out of all the resources you have. And we
Yeah.
found out that over the years, that industry has been left to less privileged people that cannot
Mm-hmm.
afford education.
Mm-hmm.
So the orientation around the industry has been very negative and been very wrong.
Mm.
Character wise, it's nothing to write home about. All right. So on that note, we thought that we could come up with a solid curriculum,
Mm.
that would help and build people, so that we would have people to depend on as we grow our production capacity, and
Mm.
also would be an opportunity to empower people to be able to function well in the industry with hope in their hearts and with money in their pockets.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's almost time for us to call it a day. So could you, tell our viewers, any last words for Nigerians? And by the way, our non-Nigerian audience is growing gradually. So I'm sure a lot of my contact or my viewers from other parts of Africa, especially, Africans in diaspora, they'll be so
Yeah,
interested in hearing your last words for them.
yeah. All right. So what I will say about Nigeria to my people, especially talking from Nigeria, is that Nigeria
Yeah,
is one of the best nations in the entire world. We are
I
going
bet.
through our trying
I
period.
agree.
Everywhere seems very hot right now. Economy is not
Mm,
looking too good. I can tell you authoritatively from research that great nation of today had their own share of challenges and
mm,
struggles in the past. I can
mm,
keep mentioning China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Japan, America.
mm,
I can just keep mentioning on and on. So what we are facing right now is not the true picture of the future that we have ahead of us.
mm-hmm,
The opportunities back home is huge in Nigeria. Like I said, for my industry, our goat skin is about the best in the entire world. We have the
mm-hmm,
highest population in Africa. We are one of the most fashion conscious
mm-hmm.
African
True.
black individuals all around Africa, and just talk about the world entirely. And every
Mm,
Nigerian is fashion conscious and understand what it means, to wear
mm,
good clothes and good shoes and other leather accessories.
mm,
So the opportunities are huge. And people like me, Jinmi Ajayi, and every other person watching this, just keep hope alive, because we've got what it
mm,
takes to move this nation forward. We've got what it takes to harness the great potential this nation has. So that when that time comes to talk about the success story of Nigeria, how we moved from grass to grace, people, let it be that our names would be mentioned and be written on the sands of time. So let's keep the hope alive. Nigeria is great. It's not just great because we are hoping for it to be great. The natural resources speaks our greatness. The intellectual capacity and properties of citizens called Nigerian across the world also, has proven that. So it's not just saying it to encourage ourselves. It's saying it because what we have, the potentials are there, and we have the ability to convert those potentials. It's just a matter of time. We'll get there someday soon.
Yeah, I agree. Very profound. Thank you very much for that, my brother. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Jimmy, for having me. And I must commend your efforts. I've been watching you from afar, and I've been watching you closely. Thank you so much for what you do. Please keep doing it.
Thank you.
People like you are the ones that are also encouraging us. And I'm also sure that there are lots of people across the world that are observing you quietly from afar. And I just want to use this opportunity on their behalf to say a big thank you for the great work that you're doing. And I want to encourage you to keep keeping on. And someday we'll come together to celebrate.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks for having me.
Enjoy the rest
Bye,
of
everyone.
your day. Yeah.
You too. Bye, everyone. Yeah.